What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sam Dracula channel. Today, I have a very special guest, another Sam, a better Sam Farber, Hornets radio announcer. Sam, welcome to the channel.
It is a pleasure and a privilege to be here, and I am not better, not by a long shot, but I appreciate the invite and the opportunity to talk to you, Sam. Great name, by the way. Great name.
You and me, we're here with it. Hey, the Sammies, the Samuels out there, we don't want you. I have a kinship with anyone who chooses to go with the one syllable. I appreciate it. Hey, but I appreciate you coming on and talking Hornets with me. Before we get into, the team itself, I want to talk to you about you for a little bit. You're new to the radio team and the Hornets in general. So I was curious, what was it like coming into the fold, basically, at a very interesting time in the franchise? They just drafted LaMelo. They just signed Gordon Hayward. They're coming off a pretty decent year last year before the shutdown happened. Things were trending upwards. They're over exceeding expectations. So, Hornets fans had high hopes going into this season. And then you add LaMelo, Hayward, and then the added growth of Terry, Devontae. So entering the fray here, the mix of the Hornets frenzy, what was it like for you coming in and joining and covering the Hornets?
Well, I mean, it's a dream come true to become an NBA play-by-play broadcaster. That, I could not have dreamed of a better job. So, I mean, on that level, it's been fantastic. And then the people I get the opportunity to work with, it's not an easy time to move across the country. It's not an easy time to start a new job with all of the COVID protocols and everything going on. Makes it difficult to meet people. It makes it difficult to arrange things like flights and moving and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just could not have been more blessed to be joining an organization that really cares about its employees, about its fans, and takes such care and time and attention to check in on us in terms of the logistics of making sure everything is going okay. And, the emotional and mental taxation that goes on people to do all those things. So I'm truly blessed. I could not be more excited to be here in the Queen City and be a part of this spectacular organization.
And speaking of Charlotte specifically, I'm a transplant just like you. What do you think of Charlotte as a city? I think I've been here 5 years. I've seen the city change a lot in that time. Still exploring where I can. What do you think of the city of Charlotte?
I absolutely love it. I grew up in San Jose, California. So in my childhood, there was a downtown area to go to. There was the big city in San Francisco that you could get to fairly easily. But, where I lived, there was a lot of suburbs and a lot of neighborhoods. And I see the exact same thing here in Charlotte. Uptown is extremely easy to get to. It's fun. There's a lot to do. I can't wait to see it when, crowds are allowed and it's safe to have all those things. But you can see like the framework for all of those fun activities, including Charlotte Hornets games. So from that standpoint, it's a perfect place to raise my family, to be a part of a community, hopefully for 30 years. I'm a big fan of Steve Martin and everything he did here with the Hornets. And my goal is to, as best I can, live up to that legacy and be a part of Hornets fans' experiences for decades.
Yeah. And speaking of Hornets fans, a select amount, slowly but surely being allowed back into the building. I was very lucky. Tickets were hard to come by initially when they had that first round. I was fortunate to be in the building for the Raptors game. The first game after the frontline workers were in there. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I couldn't see being in there. I had a tough time imagining fans not being in there. And all I could think about was how psyched the players must be to have fans in the building. And that was a very fun game to attend. The Hornets hit a lot of threes. The place was going nuts for LaMelo. He was getting an MVP chance. What's your point of view on just how the season has gone in that point of view? Just from like no fans to the slow trickle of more fans in the building and how it's impacted the atmosphere there.
Well, it certainly has made a difference. And moments like the Miles Bridges dunk on Clint Capella, that Atlanta Hawks game, it's made better because you hear that echoing and the oohs and ahs continuing multiple possessions after it happened. Everything gets amplified with fans, and it's only going to get better as we continue to climb, closer and closer to normal. We're probably not going to see it until next season, but hopefully, knock on wood, we can all do our part, stay safe, continue to wash our hands, wear masks, get vaccinated when it's your turn, and hopefully we'll have the Hive completely at capacity by next season. That's the hope everyone is looking forward to. But even at the start of the season, I think there was an understanding, and it's a mutual one. I think the fans understood it as well, or at least the feedback I've gotten, that this is a unique, once-in-a-lifetime situation, and it's incumbent on all of us to do our part. And basketball, as much as we love it, is not a necessity. It's a luxury. And in order for us to have that luxury, we all had to make sacrifices. Fans had to sacrifice the ability to be there in person. Players had to sacrifice time with their families to be able to adhere to restrictions, and also had to sacrifice, some of the downtime that you would normally get in a normal season where you would only play 3 games a week to instead play 4 to 5 games a week. And we've seen the toll that takes on players. They also have to get tested numerous times a day. So there's a lot that goes in to making this happen. And we're all thrilled that fans are able to come back into the building. I'd really be interested to hear, what your experience was like, from a safety standpoint, how you felt being in the arena, because, you were one of the first few fans to get in the building, and no one's been through this before. So I'd be really curious to hear how you felt, because, I mean, for me, the first couple of games, it was very odd to see people in the same space. It's not that I wasn't excited to see them, but it was like, wait a minute, we just went through an entire year here where I'm told stay the heck away from everybody.
Yeah.
And now even a limited amount of people in the building felt strange. And as the games have gone on, that feeling is dissipating. It feels more and more normal. And you recognize everyone's wearing masks, everyone's being careful, everyone's separated still. So I think we're all trending in the right direction and all doing what we can to make this as safe and fun an experience as it can be for everyone. But how did you feel in the arena?
So I was very impressed with the staggered entry. Well, let me back up. You have to fill out a survey talking to disclose symptoms, any contact, you've tested positive recently, and you show that before you can even show your ticket.
And I fill that out every day. Every employee, it's not just fans. Nice. Every employee, every single day, every time we go in the arena. If I go in the arena once, leave and come back, I got to show the certification again. Yeah,
I just show that thing to mad people. I was like, hey, I just showed it to that guy. You didn't see it too, but it's cool. I understand. But yeah, before you can scan your ticket, no paper, it's all digital, which is really nice. Even backing up, buying the seats, the idea of hey, I'm in a group of 3. I know, okay, having an aisle to yourself is kind of nice. Not going to lie. That was one of the nice positives about it. But buying a pod, it was me and 2 other people, and that was very interesting. It was a little difficult to find a seat that we can eat and drink in. I know some seats have those restrictions. But overall, I felt really comfortable. I probably most comfortable I've ever felt in a public setting, knowing that everyone in there was mandated to wear masks, filled out that survey. I'll go to Harris Teeter or wherever, and there's none of that. You assume people are doing the right thing, but there's nothing really mandating it. And my friend, even for half a second, mask was down. The staff was quick to be like, hey, will you please put your mask on? Hey, that was funny at the time, but it stepping back, that was really good to see because they're on top of it. So I told people after the fact, if you have any questions about going, any concerns, I wouldn't worry about it. I'm not I'm as much as I can possibly all the disclaimers in the world here. Please go, enjoy yourself. If you don't feel well, don't go. But I'm confident you'll have a good time in a safe environment, given the current setup. I just would advise people to be very careful about, the secondary market, because I don't know how well you can guarantee you won't be seated next to someone you don't know, sitting next to strangers, in your little pod. You buy 2 tickets, all of a sudden 2 strangers are right next to you. So that may be a little iffy, I guess. So I would say stick to the official, Ticketmaster, Hornets.com for that, just to avoid any weirdness in that way, if that's a concern. If you don't worry about it, don't worry about it. But I highly
Well, I'm not
recommend
even,
it.
to be honest, I have no idea if the secondary market is even open, but
Okay.
Hornets.com is a great way
Yeah.
to go and get your seats. And yeah, I mean, hopefully you've got your pod and your family or your close friends and you know everyone's status and you're comfortable with them. And yeah, once you're in the building, you're socially distanced, but all of the normal amenities are there. You know, the honeybees are there. They're performing up on their platform. We've got Hugo, the mascots there. Food and concessions are available. You can get your
ordering
merch
from the app is great. It was really great. A little grab and go style, no waiting in lines. You can do the same thing with the merch as well. You can buy a t-shirt from your seat and go pick it up at the table without waiting in line like that. That's something I hope stays.
It feels kind of like, you know, you hear about things like when the space program came to be, like that kickstarted an awful lot of other futuristic developments that we don't think of that are in our everyday lives. But if we had not had, you know, this big event happen that forced people to think in a different way, all these things that we normally have in our lives wouldn't happen. And obviously this is a great tragedy. No one wanted this to happen. But in terms of finding silver linings from it, in terms of being able to redevelop the fan experience and take some new things and make them a part of the game day experience, you know, hopefully there are some new ways of approaching things that can be developed from this that will make the fan experience even better once all of this is in our rearview mirror.
Yeah, it was really great. It was really weird in a good way being in there. So if you're listening, if you're watching this or listening, go check it. Go. Like you'll enjoy it. I think you will, at least. I know I live stream during games, so I'm like hesitant because I don't want to miss a live stream to go back. Also, I feel like I already, because there's limited tickets in there, I feel like I already had my chance in there. I want to give other people the opportunity, but who knows? But I'll maybe get back in that building as we get closer to the tail end of the season. But
hopefully for playoffs, right? Playoffs will get.
Man, give me some of that. I felt cheated after last year. Not because the season ended, but because the Hornets were one win away from the bubble invite. Watching the bubble last year, I was like, man, I would love to see Devontae in this setting. Like seeing what Jamal Murray did in the bubble. Like, man, guys are having a showcase in this setting, and I know our guys would have thrived in that environment. But we'll never know. But playoffs this year, it's looking a little iffy compared to where things were a few weeks ago. Injuries will do that to you. A lot of injuries going on with the Hornets all at the same time. A lot of ankle and foot injuries right now. What's your perspective on how the Hornets are playing right now during this tough time with all these injuries? And then what do you expect when guys start getting healthy again?
Well, all things considered, I think the team is doing the best it can, given how many injuries they're facing here. To be without, last game, for instance, they were without PJ Washington, Gordon Hayward, LaMelo Ball, Malik Monk. Am I forgetting anyone? There's so many. Nate Darling was also hurt.
Yeah.
It's a lot of guys, a lot of offense, a lot of playmaking, a lot of touches to try and recoup. And unlike a team like, say, the Lakers, who, that's a team that's trying to win a championship right now. The end of their bench is filled with veterans who are trying to get a ring. The end of the Hornets bench is filled with former second-round picks who have barely played in the NBA. So it's not to say that those guys can't contribute. They certainly can. We've seen it from them already this season. But you're not expecting for quite the same thing when you turn to Nate Darling in his first meaningful minutes versus when the Lakers turned to Wes Matthews, who's top 25 in NBA history and made threes.
Yeah.
So it's a slightly different person coming in from near the end of the bench. So, that's something that the Hornets have had to deal with. I think the defensive game plan has really been good. I think there's some positive things you can take away from how the team played defensively against Andre Drummond with the Lakers that hopefully they can put into practice later on when they face other elite centers. But overall, we all know what's going on right now. This team is very much banged up. They're missing a lot of pieces, and any team missing this much of their normal rotation is going to struggle. The fact that the team is still at 500 is a wonderful thing. Hopefully, they can get a W here in the next couple of games and remain at that level. But overall, all the good things they did early in the season provided them this cushion to stay where the team's goal was all along, and that's to make the playoffs. To me, the Play-in is the playoffs. Anything beyond the regular season is a playoff experience. And that's what you want this young group to have. It's only going to make them better moving forward.
Yes, I am. I'm very hopeful. And all I can think of, spoiler alert, is that scene at the end of Avengers Endgame where Doctor Strange brings all the people back. And I just picture like Hayward and LaMelo walking through the portal, like, hey, we're here. Our guys are back. Plus the guys who are getting some run now, Jalen McDaniels specifically, is getting some very valuable experience now that could pay off later in the playoffs when his number is called. Like I was talking to people about like this team's bench, I think is deeper and better than we all expected. And we were seeing that in their ability to kind of hold on tight until the regulars come back healthy again. But
no doubt. And I'll link it again to the Lakers. They're on my mind since we just played them. Yeah. But, the Lakers right now are treading water for what they're trying to do, keep their playoff positioning, knowing that the timeline suggests that they're going to get Anthony Davis and LeBron James back in time to play the most meaningful games of their season in the playoffs. I think similarly, the Hornets, right now, the timelines link up similarly. The injuries to guys like Gordon Hayward and Malik Monk and PJ Washington, knock on wood, are not season ending. They're prolonged, but they will return to the team based off everything we have been told so far. Hopefully that remains the same. And if they all come back around the same time, you're looking at the most meaningful games of the season, the final couple weeks of the regular season, and then the play-in and playoffs, where this team should be as healthy as it's been since the start of the second half. If they can get there, that's great. And then you're playing the most important games. Better to have that than to be facing a bunch of season-ending injuries like what just happened with Jamal Murray in Denver. That's awful. We all feel terrible for him. He's such a special player. But it's catastrophic for their potential finals run that they were hoping to make. For the Hornets, again, knock on wood, everything seems to line up that even though there's a lot of hardship right now for this roster, trying to figure out a way to get to 100 points night in, night out when you're missing 60 to 70% of your offense, at least that offense is scheduled to come back.
Yes, and there's still a question mark. I'm still holding out hope that we'll see LaMelo again this year for a lot of reasons. So I want to talk to you about LaMelo. 19 years old, just absolutely incredible. For me, all I knew about LaMelo is obviously his family, and he looked like he shot the ball with two hands. Like that was it. Just the scouting reports I read, I was excited about the draft pick, but I wasn't familiar with him and his game fully. And then seeing him on the court, I was blown away, just absolutely blown away with what he's able to bring as a basketball player. From a shooting ability and percentage wise and playmaking and passing abilities is outworld and rebounding. What's your take on LaMelo? What do you think about what he brings to the team? And you think he's Rookie of the Year?
I think he should be. I think for the Rookie of the Year argument, this is one of my favorite rants. If you hear the Hornets Hivecast, you'll see at least once a week I go off about the latest rookie ladder and how bogus it is. I think he is, because we're not talking about him only playing in half the games. It seems like the sticking point for a lot of voters is he would have played the lowest percentage of his team's games of any Rookie of the Year winner ever. Right now, the lowest is Patrick Ewing, which is right around 60%. LaMelo's at about 55%. And I feel like that, yes, he's in uncharted waters. But while the lifeguard on the beach can't see him, he can see the lifeguard. He's not so far out there that this would be preposterous to give him the award. Mm-hmm. He's close enough. So I think the impetus is on Anthony Edwards to either put this so far out of reach that it's not a question, which he could do if he ends the season averaging 20 points per game. I think it's legit to say that maybe he's more deserving, because it tends to be a statistical award and less about how much impact you have on winning. Impact on winning tends to be a tiebreaker. I'm talking about traditionally. I'm not saying what my opinion is. My opinion is LaMelo Ball should be Rookie of the Year, but I would understand there's a good argument to make for Anthony Edwards if he puts it that far out of reach. If he doesn't, then it's on you as a voter to decide. You have to make that decision. are you saying that he is not rookie of the year because he played 2 less games than you think he should have? Really? 2 games is going to be the difference for you? If that's the case, and you want to live with that vote, you got the vote for a reason. Vote your conscience. But for me, I feel like this is not a sea change. This is not saying, well, 60% was the bar before, and now we're dropping it down to 45%. You're saying you wanted him to play in 45 total games. He played in 42. I think that's enough for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This team, his value to the team has been immense. And compared to the Timberwolves record and the Kings record, like I like Anthony Edwards and Halliburton, but those aren't good teams. This Hornets team is a good team, a playoff team, and that should matter. We'll see though. But hey, Sam, I appreciate you chatting with me. Is there anything else you want to get into before we say goodbye?
It's your show. You tell me. So what would you like to know?
Hey,
I don't know if I have the answers, but
well, that was everything on my list, man. I appreciate it. It's always nice to talk Hornets basketball. I really appreciate talking with you about the Hornets. And is there anything you want to plug anything, I guess, on the way out?
I would definitely, invite fans to go to Hornets.com and to, make plans if you're feeling up to it. To come check out a game. It's a great atmosphere. Donna Julian and her staff at Spectrum Center have done a spectacular job making it a safe, fun, welcoming environment. We want it to be like normal as much as it can be. We want to get to normal, though, most importantly. And so everyone continue to do your part. Wear your mask, wash your hands, obey social distancing, and hopefully we'll be there sooner than later. And thanks to you, Sam, and to Muggsy for putting together your podcast. I think it's great that there's fans out there that have so many different options now. That's what we're trying to do with our daily podcast, the Hornets Hivecast, which we put out 7 days a week throughout the season. But I think it's just great that there's a lot of different perspectives and angles that fans can get their Hornets fix.
Yeah.
We want you all to be engaged and involved. I think that the worst thing a team can be is irrelevant. And the quickest way to get you there is by not having anything to listen to have, it talked about. And this Hornets team is extremely relevant right now for the here and now in terms of making the playoffs and the play-in, and most definitely for a very bright future with young stars like LaMelo Ball and P.J. Washington and Miles Bridges in the fold. So and there's many, many more after that too. So excited to talk to you, and hopefully we'll see you at a Hornets game soon.